Call the meeting of the Leitchfield Utilities Commission to order for Thursday, September the 7th, 2023. You have a draft of the minutes of our August 17th meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jones. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Alley. Any discussion? All in favor? Next item is the approval and the ratification of the bill list. Floor is open for any questions or comments or needing of explanation about the bills, which has been provided to you. Entertain a motion to approve the bill list by Mr. Bernard. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Miller. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? All right. The next item of business is the pay classifications and grades that we have discussed previously. Lori, do you have a comment about that?
The Tourism Commission has approved those on their end, so we're just waiting for your all's approval before the city council moves on with the reading of the ordinances. Nothing has changed since the last meeting when I went over it, so everything here is what you all seen at the last meeting.
Now, it's my understanding that once this is passed, these bodies are in agreement to immediately bring everyone within those ranges that are not inside the ranges now, right?
Harold, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is what I get from the city council, that they're ready as soon as we get it passed to move on with it.
Yes.
I think these are going to be updated on the fiscal year too, aren't they? I noticed, I read that.
What we had talked about at the last meeting, the city council wants the mins and maxes on the salary scale. When we originally read the first reading of the ordinance, they had read into it that it would update yearly when we got the CPI numbers from DLG, and that usually in February, so the ordinance would automatically update to where we didn't have to amend it yearly. We would just plug in those new figures.
But they would go into effect July 1, though.
That has not been set in stone yet, but that is what they talked about. The council and mayors automatically go into effect when we get that. So theirs usually goes into effect in March. What they did talk about as far as all the employees was to let it go into effect July 1st when we get that new number, just because it's going to be easier on Sabrina to work off of 1% for figuring the pay and salaries for all the departments instead of having to work off two different percentages.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Now, the adjustments that were being made within the scales, though, for like amount of tenure and so forth, were those going to go on into effect?
That hasn't. I think all that's going to have to be done through the personnel policy. Once we get this done, we want to start working on that. But Dwight, correct me if I'm wrong, I think your idea was 25% at 5 years, 50 at 10, and 100 to the max at 15, correct? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I sat down with a couple of department heads, and we were trying to figure out a formula that we could use based on just purely tenure. And we felt like that was a good formula to use, and those numbers are right.
And when the mayor and I sat down and looked at all the city side, we really didn't have a formula in mind. But when I went back and looked, it almost followed that precisely. So when we looked at our numbers.
So the cities is basically the same.
But now let's go over the 100% again, because we thought at one time you were supposed to be leaving some leeway in there for above average performance or something like that. So if you set a tenure limit, then how do you reward that person for above average
Well,
performance?
there'll still be.
If they're below average, if they're going to get it through tenure, I mean, why?
Well, if you're below average, it takes you 15 years. I think just the fact that if you show up every day and you work 15 years, you're close that gets you at 100%. I think somebody, if you base somebody on performance, a person could get to 100% at quite a few years less than 15, depending on additional education they had, depending on their work ethic and their showing up to work and things like that. So just,
But in theory, I guess they would move up to a different classification if they were showing themselves to be competent and above
yes.
average. They might
Right.
be promoted from a job that's a class, say,
Correct.
26, to promote to a job that's a class 30 or something.
That is correct.
Yeah, that would factor in as well.
Of course, just by the effect of providing a motion to approve what we've done already, again, that the implementation of it has to, I guess, would be a different motion at a different point in time, right?
Yes.
Well, if you all, I mean, once you all approve this, then we do the first and second reading of the ordinance, and then it automatically go into effect as soon
As
as
far
that
as the
second.
scales, but as far as actually implementing the tenure part.
Oh,
and,
yes,
uh,
that would be, you are correct, I'm sorry, yes. Our plan is, once we get this put into effect, is to start working on the personnel policy, because it does need a lot of updating, and that's not gonna be an easy one either. It's gonna be a long, drawn-out process.
Yeah, I think part of our goal in it too is to be able to include department heads and like Dwight himself. If you've got an exceptional employee, you have the ability now to reward them for that.
Any other questions, comments?
But bottom line, what we are approving is the same thing that the city's gonna do.
Yeah, you've got
We're all gonna be
you've got
on
the listing, grade listing on the back there, so
Yeah.
everything's listed. Almost everything. We always run into something that,
Yeah, I mean, if somebody makes a new position, or, something like that, then we'd have to come back and we'd have to amend it at that point, but what you all approve, if you all approve this tonight, it's gonna be the same thing that the city council approves.
Is there a motion to approve this from the commission to pass on to the city council for its first reading?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead, Greg.
Motion by Greg Bernard, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Miller. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? We have no visitors. The next item of business is an update on the lift station from Ken Virens. That's what we formerly referred to as a Woodlawn Avenue lift station, now commonly referred to as a bypass lift station. It's in North Litchfield. You've been provided with some material that Brandon Hamilton of Ken Virens, who's an associate of them. He's a professional engineer, PE. He's enclosed a letter and then also some maps. There won't really be any action for us to take at tonight's meeting, but that's for your information to digest and look forward to. Anyone else have a comment about that? Dwight, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, it's, the last time Brandon was here, he was talking about a couple of different options. And I received this email, I received this information late this afternoon. And I think the options have changed from what I was thinking our options were. He said, in his letter to me, he says there's two options. We could move out the lift station adjacent to the bypass, and then developers that are to the south, they can gravity flow down to it. It would be necessary to have a 20-foot deep station there, he said, which wasn't unusual but would create some problems. Or option two would be to just replace the lift station where it is located now. and then let the developers build their own lift station and come to it there. And he said that he would, he said there's advantages and disadvantages to both, and would like to sit down with Robin and myself and Ricky and look at that. And I invited him to, we're gonna try to schedule a meeting together. If any of y'all would like to sit through it, I'll invite you as well. And so the options have changed a little bit, but they have done a lot of work on it. If you look through all of these drawings, and they've done a lot of elevation work, and they have been busy on it, even though we haven't seen and heard from them in a few weeks. They have been working on it, so.
Yeah, I encourage us to look through these, and if you have any questions, I do think it's good that you have a staff meeting or something like that to get more familiar with his work. But at some point in time, I think we almost need to have a, quote, public hearing on it.
And
To get public comment and developer comment and explain it to them, and then also see where we can go from there.
yeah, I agree, and I see that forthcoming. But while we're on this subject, he also sent a service agreement that if we're going to continue to work with them, we need to, I need to execute that and get that back to them. And I'll give it to Dave, let him look over it. But basically, it's for this particular project, it's a lump sum amount of $133,000. I just received that late this afternoon, too.
You got that copy?
Is there a,
I can print it out.
You can, okay. I'll look at it.
is there a timeline on that? That we have to have it
No,
signed, by, so,
I think we have time to,
yeah.
I mean, I'd like to, if we're going to execute it, I would like to execute it before the next meeting, so I don't know if there could be a motion and a vote that pending Dave's approval of the wording or something like that nature.
Oh, I think we can do it all at the same time. If we actually get together, I think we can do it all at the same time, or what?
You talking about like at that meeting
Yeah.
that you're having? Of
No,
course,
I'm talking about it at our next meeting.
yeah. Of course, y'all have told me that the Chamber of Commerce dinner is at our next regular scheduled meeting, so it may be on into October before we meet again. Is that gonna cause a problem?
I would like to, yeah, I mean, we're wanting to continue to move forward with this, and we've expressed urgency on it. I would like to execute it next week, this contract, if it's suitable to, if it meets the legal standards that.
Okay, we'll review it, and then I'll get my comments back to you, and then if you want to make that motion to approve it, subject to my reviewing the contract, making any necessary changes that I deem necessary.
Okay, is there a motion to approve Superintendent Embry to execute a contract with Ken Virens engineering firm for continued work on the bypass development sanitary sewer extension lift station, provided it is reviewed by our counsel, David Vickery, for form and substance? With that motion?
Just one question. We're sitting here with two options. So same money for both of them?
No, he hasn't talked about, as far as the engineering fees?
Yeah.
Yeah, the engineering fee, according to the contract, and Dave's gonna look over it, is $133,000, either option.
And one more extent than the other?
Well, I mean,
I'm just asking.
they've already done elevations on all of it.
Yeah.
So whether we use all of those elevations or not, they've already done a lot of due diligence on.
Yeah, normally those fees, though, assessed as a percentage of what they think the contract's
Yeah,
the
we
cost
told
is
him-
gonna
We
be.
told him on that one, we told him that we would rather not do a percentage, we would rather just do a flat contract, if you'll remember.
Yeah.
Right. And so that,
So if the writing's all good in it and everything, you good with it too?
Yes, I am. If the writing's good, I was,
yeah, I mean, if it's a set fee, then we don't have to worry about the bid coming in more and the engineering going up.
yeah.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Been a motion by Mr. Jones to make the motion to authorize Superintendent Dwight Embry to execute a contract with Ken Virens Engineering Firm for their work on this project, provided it meets the review of our attorney, David Vickery. And that motion's been made by Mr. Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bernard. Any other discussion or question? All in favor? You've also been provided, kind of while we're on that project, for your study, a example of the contracts to, and how they might do either a utilization or a waiver of refund of provisions under Kentucky Revised Statute 96.539. You've been given copies of what BGMU, or Bowling Green Municipal Utilities, uses when they have a similar project. Also, a recently adopted policy by the Princeton Water and Wastewater Commission over a line extension policy. So those are for your study and review that I think will come in handy at some point in time in how we proceed on this project. Next item that I'll bring up, the United States Department of Agricultural Rural Development has given a certificate of award to Leitchfield Utilities in recognition of our selection as a finalist for the Kentucky Rural Water Association 2023 Wooden Bucket Award. I think there's a letter here that 10 water and wastewater utilities are announced during the member appreciation breakfast as Wooden Bucket finalists and honored for their outstanding service during the past year. Dr. Thomas Carew, the State Director of USDA Rural Development, was on hand to present all the honorees with plaques of recognition. They included Barberville Utilities, Cannonsburg Water District, the City of Cynthiana, the City of Eddyville, Hardin County Water District Number 2, Harrison County Water Association, the City of Leitchfield, Letcher County Water District, Morgan County, and the City of Morganfield. And we didn't win the Wooden Bucket, but we were a finalist. So Morgan County was named as the Wooden Bucket Award winner, but it was a great honor for us to be mentioned as a finalist in that. So there's a press release on that, and then also we did receive this plaque. So again, that is a good honor for our system and for the work that the water treatment plant and really all our crew do system-wide.
System-wide.
It was a system-wide award.
And I've included for y'all, if y'all want to put it on your refrigerator, a nice photo of accepting the award.
All right. I thought maybe you'd have tiles made up for us all, this where we could put it on our walls.
They're ordered. They'll be on your bill list in a couple of months.
With a magnet on it.
Yeah.
So that is that. Is there any new business? There's several chamber events coming up. Their chamber lunch is September 14th. Also, there's a chamber breakfast scheduled for September 28th. And a couple of more direct utility-related things that we need to bring up. There's a retirement lunch for Darren Dennison, September the 28th at noon. Now, is that gonna be at the water plant?
That's gonna be at the water plant, and I hope all of y'all can attend.
So, try to mark your calendars for that. I believe that's a Friday.
I think it's
I
on
think
a
it's a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Oh, is it a Thursday?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think it's
good.
Thursday.
All right. Also, we did apply again for a grant for our gas system. Adam Scott has been, who's appeared before us before, was working on that. We applied for it last year and did not get it, but I think he's made some revisions to the grant writing and so forth, and we're more optimistic this time, maybe, or?
Yeah, we're more optimistic. We're putting quite a bit of work into it. And that reminds me, I had a meeting with Matt Baker today. Matt and I, I'm glad, Matt Baker, myself, Robin and Ricky, Robin Strader and Ricky Lush, we met concerning the new wastewater treatment plant design. We met for about an hour this afternoon, late this morning, actually. And kind of going over some of the design work, some of the, on the water, wastewater plant.
Is there any other business? Anything?
You'd say something about our meeting next
Yeah.
time.
All right. Again, it was mentioned that September 21 is actually the annual chamber membership dinner. It's at a venue that is a few minutes out of town. And does it actually even, the reception period start at 5? So that conflicts with our regularly scheduled meeting, and I know the mayor really needs to be there, and several other of our members normally attend that. So I would entertain a motion to cancel the September 21 meeting of the commission, so our next meeting would be the first Thursday in October. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion by
Or
Mr.
Harold.
Jones, second by Mayor Miller. Any other discussion about that? All in favor of that motion to cancel
Aye.
that meeting? All right. That's taken care of. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Alley motions to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any discussion? All in favor?